for nothing, and you keep Mahara and take it with you wherever you go. That's the difference between closed systems and open systems. It's important that we grasp this concept, because openness is going to be the future of education. Without openness, education just won't work anymore. We need to have openness to sustain education. The main principle and practice of openness is about peer production, it's about sharing. Nothing new in this. People have been sharing their recipes for cooking, haven't they, for years for free. Recipes get sent down from generation to generation. Not a problem. It's always been there. We're doing this now with open source content as well, such as Moodle and Mahara and other tools that I've shown you. It's about no extra cost to the public as well. That's the important thing. Open cola, have you seen this? Even Coca-Cola are under threat now. Because somebody found the recipe, changed it slightly, and produced open cola. And it was a gimmick. It was to actually it was to advertise the fact that we could have open software. But the thing was, they sold 150,000 cans in the first month of it being available. So it could be a business in its own right. So there are lots of things that are open these days. Lots of pharmaceutical companies, the drugs companies, are also under threat because people are now taking the patent and opening it up and making drugs available to people on a freer basis. There's lots of changes going on in the open world. Free and open content, really it's all about creative work. It's about describing the format and how it's changing. It's about it not being exclusive anymore. Open content is a really important concept because without it, a lot of knowledge will be hidden from us. And as I'm saying, the future of education is about sharing knowledge, not about hiding it. I'm going to talk briefly about open scholarship in a moment, but first this. You've probably seen these before, and you'll notice that on the right-hand side of all my slides, I've got CC, just here, which means on this license, you can share my slides, and you can share anybody else's slides, and use them for your own use. And you can even repurpose them and change them slightly if you wish under certain conditions. You have to check the license. So for instance, if you want to use a picture, a photograph, and you find it on Google, you go into advanced search on Google and then go into unfiltered for reuse. And if the picture comes up, you can use it freely. All you have to do is acknowledge the source. And I think Ulrika, where's Ulrika? Ulrika's over here. She's used some of my slides because I've made them freely available. You can do that too. If you see a slide that you like, you can use it or recheck or change it. I know some of my slide sets have been translated into Portuguese and Spanish, which is amazing. I didn't expect that when I put my slides up for free. But they do. People take them and use them for their own context, and they can change them. And I think that's a really nice, beautiful concept, actually. And copyleft is the other one here. This is anti-copyright. It's about freedom to openly access, use, copy, modify, and otherwise share that content. And here's another way of sharing. The University of Small States of the Commonwealth. I was in Namibia last May, this time last year, and they launched a new system where the 32 smallest countries of the Commonwealth, these are the Caribbean islands and some of the countries in Africa and Malaysia and Asia and so on. These small countries have got together and agreed on a common assessment principle so that wherever you go in any of those universities, you can study similar content at a similar level and be assessed. Okay? And I presented 2 papers for publication. One of them actually, they got published at the same time, but one of them was actually presented 3 years before. And I'll tell you the story of this. I published my first paper in a closed journal. It took 18 months for them to review it and get it back to me. 18 months. I sent my amendments back to them. And then it took another 18 months for them to publish it, because there was a backlog of papers in the journal. That's 3 years. That's unacceptable by any standards, particularly as my paper was about technology and learning, and therefore it was out of date before it was published. This is crazy. Do you understand? So I was annoyed, to say the least. In fact, I was incandescent. I was so annoyed. The second paper was published almost the same week, maybe the same month anyway. And it took me 5 months from the point I submitted it to the point that it was published. And that was in an open access journal. Here are the statistics for you. Firstly, I'll show you this actually, Open Scholarship. This is all about, this is the paper that was published in the Open Access Journal. It was about wikis, blogs and podcasts. And because it was published in an Open Access Journal, it had a lot more readership to start with. Many, many more people came in to read it. It was also open peer reviewed. In other words, the people who peer reviewed it, I knew their names and they knew my names. Not only that, but it was all published online as well, so you can go into the whole process and see their response to me, my response to them, and all of the correspondence. You can click onto each of those and see the first manuscript and the revised manuscript, so you can see the whole process of learning that went on. This is open peer review. Open and transparent, these are the letters that go with it, the author's response to the reviews. I think that's really neat. The closed journal took me 3 years, the open journal 5 months. The number of citations for the closed journal is currently 12, 357. I don't know how many people read my first article, but I know that currently 84,490 people have read the second article. And the general impact factor is very similar. So for me, no contest. I know where I'm going to publish in future. It's going to be in open access journals because that for me is the future of education. That for me is the future of scholarships. I won't talk too much about this, but do you know what that is? Any ideas? If you've used smartboards, interactive whiteboards, then you'll know that this is a hack. It's a wee hack, in fact, by Jimmy Lee. And what he did was, he took a small pen, hollowed it out like a whiteboard pen, hollowed it out, put in a photoelectric cell and a battery and a sensor, and with a couple of Wii handsets pointed at the screen, you can now use any surface as an interactive whiteboard. That wall over there, for instance. This wall here. I don't know, my shirt. Anything, you can use it as an interactive whiteboard. And instead of costing 3,000 euros, it's going to cost you maybe 100 euros. This is what we mean by hacking education. This is about open access now. My final quote for you, and then we'll stop. Knowledge is like love. You can give it away all you like, and you still get to keep it. So here's to openness. Thank you very much.